Hello and welcome to a history lesson on the edge. So, not really a history lesson, but I am going to speak about the origins of this fixed blade knife you see in front of you. So, the second fixed blade knife on the edge and another Extrema Ratio. So before I get him out, let me just quickly show you the pouch. So I've got a very nice Cordura pouch here. You can see the molly attachments, and around the back the same thing. And quite nice that you can remove this piece of the pouch. So you get that off, and then you've just got that piece that you can attach to any equipment or vest that you may have. Very nice design pouch. Right, let's get him out. It's not what we're actually here to see, and lay this really good looking fellow in front of you here. So as you can see, or maybe not, let's get him that way around. And now maybe you can see. What we've got here is the Extrema Ratio Arditi black fighting knife, to give it its full name. And I'm assuming that's how the Italians would pronounce it, Arditi. Right, so as per usual, I'm going to go through the materials, the dimensions, and then we'll speak a little bit about the design attributes, and I'm going to speak about the origins of this very beautiful knife. So in terms of materials, we've got a blade steel of Bowler M690. So that is the same blade steel as the other fixed blade, the other Extrema Ratio I had on the channel, and that was the Fulcrum. Same blade steel. In fact, the finish is the same as well. So they've got the coating of the blade, they describe as Mil C 13924 burnishing. In this case, it's sort of a matte finish and very neat, sort of more neatly finished off than the other knife. The Fulcrum was a glossy finish and a little bit rougher. It is a military issue knife, that one. Flat grind, getting ahead of myself, we'll speak about that just now. The handle is a polymer, quite a nice finish, sort of matte finish on it, and it's almost like a velvety finish to that, however they've done that. Feels good in hand, but yeah, polymer handle. So that's it in terms of materials. So let's go through the dimensions. Blade length, we've got 167 millimeters or 6.57 inches. Thickness of the blade, and it doesn't look that thick because of the way that it tapers towards the edge, but thickness of 6.3 millimeters or 0.24 inches. Total length of this guy is 270 millimeters or 10.62 inches. And then the weight of him is 224 grams or 7.9 ounces. I've written down here 7.9 inches. It's definitely ounces. Right, so in terms of the origins of this knife, let's speak about this. So the origins of this knife are from the First World War, where Italian soldiers found themselves in confined spaces, and the knives that they had, the bayonets were just too long. So the Italian salt units, known as the Arditi, and hence the name, simply made their own shortened knives by modifying those long-bladed bayonets, known as the viterli, if I have it correct. And so simply by cutting off the tips and then sharpening the blade, they created their own shorter knives. So to commemorate that, Extrema Ratio has produced a limited number of these knives. Now this is interesting because on their website, they state that they've produced 1,918 of these knives. But if you look at the bottom of the handle of the knife here, it says that that's number, and I hope you can see that on camera, that this is number 90 of 2018. So I don't know if that just merely means that they produced these in 2018, which would make sense because that would be the anniversary, or if they've produced 2018 of these. So I'm not sure. Have they produced 1,918? 1918 also makes sense, in terms of the year. Don't know, but either way, it's compelling, and it is a limited edition knife. So on their site, they speak about, if you're looking for more history and background, you can get that in a book that is titled The Storia dell'Arma Bianca Italiano. So I'll maybe just add a little annotation below the knife at the appropriate spot of the video. And then there's this really beautiful seal in the knife, which also just helps give it that commemorative look, but nicely done, nicely etched on there. And let's try this, is it says, by the way, the Associazione Nazionale Incursori Esercito, I'm not really sure. And I do apologize to any Italians who are watching this for butchering your beautiful language. But that translates into the National Association of Army Rangers. And then the abbreviation for that in Italian is ANIE or ANI. Right, so let's get this knife in hand. I really do like it. It is a handsome looking knife. And then that blade shape is a spear point, and I suppose it would be a dagger, but it's only sharpened on the one side, so it's not sharpened on the back end, so that is then a spear point. Nice little shape, the little cutout in the blade there as well, just an interesting shape there, very, very attractively done. It is a full tang knife, so the blade does continue onto the handle, one piece between the scales. And then you've got this bent handguard, in the front of the handle as well. Very nicely done, nicely shaped. It's quite interesting that there's this separate plate on the back. It definitely is full tang. I suppose you just got to look at it more carefully to figure out what that is. So if you look at the handguard is a separate piece. So obviously when you're putting this knife together, that handguard has to be put on here somehow. So that's been, obviously they've slid that over the back of the handle up to the point where the steel widens for the blade. So it fits up against there, and you can see how that pushes up against there. And then they've added this plate. Otherwise, how would you get that handguard on? Okay, so that makes perfect sense. You then put on that plate, and then you'd put on the scale. So that's the construction. But as I say, it is a full tang. Nice feel, nice weight to the knife. Feels very balanced. Feels good in hand. The one thing that is maybe a little bit odd is if you look. Okay, so my medium-sized hands. I've mentioned in other reviews I wear a large glove. See, I get the four fingers really very easily and comfortably over there with space to spare, so even if you had bigger hands. But if you get this knife into a grip that you would to use it, it is a fighting knife, you'll see that it's actually quite short. I suppose for reverse grip that works, but it's quite a short grip when you hold the knife like that. Anyway, still very nice, beautiful design, and beautifully finished off, by the way. I compare this to the other Extrema Ratio that I had, the fulcrum. The fulcrum was quite roughly finished off, but that knife is a military issue knife. So it's not a military style knife, it is a military knife. This isn't. This, you can see, is a presentation type knife. Really beautifully finished off. The coating really done nicely. Everything. And damn it, I want it. So there is. So I've actually brought another couple of knives just to compare to this. So one knife very, very similar in terms of style, and that's the Boker Applegate Fairbairn Combat 2. And here he is. Let's just get him out of his sheath. And as you can see, a very, very, very similar shaped knife. Now, in this particular case, it is a dagger. This one is, you can see the shining there is actually sharpened on both sides. But similar style, and you can see same purpose. Both are fighting knives. The Boker has a thicker, rounder, not rounder, a thicker handle and a slightly longer handle, so it is a little more comfortable. And you can see now, comparing it to the Extrema Ratio, how that fits into the hand. But nice knife, nice thick hand guard there. And the Boker, by the way, makes use of 440C steel, so a nicer blade steel on the Extrema Ratio. But yeah, seriously, a knife that I want. And then I brought a little bit of a left field option as well. So not the same style of knife, but I think probably also, a military and combat style knife. And that is this guy, the Zero Tolerance 0121 Strider Ranger. Now, here's a little bit of a throwback. Probably haven't seen one of those for a long time. I think this knife is been out of production for many years. So yeah, put that down there. A very different knife, like I say, but I think probably also a combat knife. Just a different style of combat knife. Interestingly, I think the zero tolerance is even heavier, but that's just the nature of this very overbuilt knife. It is a little tank. Anyway, I thought I'd bring that on there as well. Another sort of fixed blade, fighting military style knife, I guess. Right, let's get him out the way and get the bokeh out of the way and leave you there with this very, very beautiful Extrema Ratio knife. As I said, it's another knife that I want to, oh boy, add to the collection. And what makes it even more compelling is the fact that it is a limited edition knife. So I think that's pretty much it from the design and the specs perspective. I do have to say again, and I suppose it sort of goes without saying, that I really appreciate Blades and Triggers support. So this is another knife that's been supplied to me for review by Blades and Triggers. Check out their website, BNT Online. They have a really great selection of knives, things, for instance, like this. And in fact, they have a really nice selection of Extrema Ratio knives. In terms of the price of this guy, I struggled to find a dollar price on him. I found one at lamnia.com for $388, and then at Blades and Triggers he's about 6,000 rand. But beautiful knife, and he might just be joining my collection. Let's get him in hand one more time so you can see him. Very, very handsome knife, nicely finished off, nice shape, and then nice to have that sort of interesting history behind the knife as well, and that knife makers are producing these commemorative editions. I like that. Guys, I think that's all that I have for you. Thank you so much for joining me, and as always, I just want to appeal to you to please subscribe and hit that bell icon. I'd really like you to join me more often. Other than that, you go well, and God bless.